Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Lee, with Education Beyond, and we have Sam here with me from CTY. And today we'd like to give you a brief introduction about Education Beyond as well as CTY. I guess, Sam, maybe you can say a few words to introduce yourself before I pass on to you later in the program.
Yes, hello from Baltimore in the United States, here the home of Johns Hopkins University. I'm Sam Robfogle, the Senior Director for International at the Center for Talented Youth. And I'm very pleased. We've been having conversations on again, off again for several years with our friends at Education Beyond. And those conversations continue about how we can launch programs like CTY in Japan, and we're very pleased to have this chance to hear from you and to share a little bit of our vision and get your feedback on it.
Great, thank you. And so let me just briefly talk about the program today. And so for the next 5 minutes, I'll briefly introduce Education Beyond. And after that, I'll pass to Sam, who will give you a full introduction on CTY. And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the pilot program that Education Beyond has been planning, and I'll give you information on what's going to happen in the future. But after that, we'll have about 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A, where we hope to have an interactive session with you to get your feedback, but answer any questions you might have. In terms of questions, please feel free to type them into the chat during the session when you think of them, or you can hold them and raise your hand and speak up at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to give a very quick introduction about Education Beyond. So Education Beyond was actually established in July 2020. It's actually in the middle of COVID. I'll talk a little bit about how that impacts us a little bit later. But Education Beyond is a nonprofit. It's a foundation supported by many supporters and donors. But what made our activities possible is actually thanks to about 20 plus passionate volunteers who has been contributing their time, personal time, and resources to help the organization to achieve what we want, which I will talk about in the next slide. We have a few members shown here. We have many others who, at this time, due to personal and professional reasons, would like to keep their names private. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone who really worked really hard in the last 8-9 months to make Education Beyond possible. And in addition to the 20 plus pro bono members, before that, I will talk about our mission. So the mission for Education Beyond is to help build a society where advanced learners can realize their full potential in Japan. So our focus is in Japan. In order to achieve our mission, we actually created 3 visions. And these 3 visions are the concrete steps that we'd like to take in the coming years. And the first one is to create a space for advanced learners to satisfy their passion for learning. And this is the reason why we're proposing a pilot. But I will talk a little bit about our other online events in the later slides. But we have received feedback that the parents and guardians of advanced learners would like to have a place for them to actually collaborate and to share information. So it is our intention to create a community for this to happen. In the future, obviously, would have scholars, educators to join as well. But the feedback has been loud and clear that they like to have a place where they can actually exchange information and learn from each other. And then lastly, to create lasting impact and daily impact on advanced learners, we hope in the future to be able to work with teachers at schools so that they would actually be able to incorporate some of what we're proposing into their school curriculum. And then going back to the members, so in addition to the 20 members that we have, we actually they're supported by 3 board of directors, including myself. And we also have 2 other board members, Lynn. She is the chairperson of UWC Isaac Japan. Also Michael, who is the CEO of Public Holdings. So the three of us actually are the board of directors for Education Beyond to make sure that we are moving in the right direction. But in addition to that, we also have many funding supporters. Again, not everyone is shown here, but they have been generously providing support, especially for the scholarship that we hope to provide to students in the future. Just a little brief introduction about the history. So it actually started in 2017, but before that, I actually moved from the Tokyo office of my previous employer to Hong Kong in 2012. That's when I got to know CTY and got to know Sam. We've been talking for many years about the participation from Asian students, and we actually realized that we had a particularly low participation from Japan. And therefore, in 2017, as a member, a volunteer of the East Asia Advisory Council, we held together with CTY a reception in Tokyo to understand the market here, to talk to parents and schools and educators, and also government officials as well. And in 2019, another board member, Lynn, actually met with CTY at the Summerside. Both Lynn and myself are CTY parents, so we have our children attending CTY, and Lynn's son was attending the summer program in Los Angeles, and she actually met up with CTY. And so subsequent to that, a year later, actually an entity, Education Beyond, was established. We had two founding directors at the moment, but very quickly the activity was stopped because of COVID. And if we remember back, almost everything, all the schools were stopped. And therefore, it was understandable that it was very difficult for the funding support directors to actually move forward. I actually retired from my previous employer last year, and I moved back to Tokyo, and we began to start recruiting the pro bono members again. And in 2022, myself, Lynn, and Michael were appointed the new board directors. Actually, the three of us really got together thanks to the 2017 event, and we decided to actually come together and restart the initiative again. And earlier this year, 2022, in June, we invited the executive director of CTY to be our guest speaker. We held an advocacy event to talk about what advanced learners are. And we had more than 1,200 registrations and 500 attendees. In July, we followed up with some details about a pilot program we're proposing. We also had 300 registrations and 200 attendees. And so that's a very brief introduction about what we actually have done at Education Beyond so far. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and pass on the mic to Sam.
Thanks very much, Paul. And I hope you're seeing my screen now.
Yes.
It's okay, very good. So I just want to start with a quick word of thanks to Education Beyond for the wonderful collaboration that we've had to introduce the concept of our educational model to audiences in Japan, and for the excellent support in reaching audiences in the Japanese language and in schools that we would never have been able to reach on our own. So it's been a very rewarding collaboration for us, and we're eager to figure out the right model for beginning programming. We continue to work our way through the post-COVID world, or the living with COVID world. And so that's forced us to rethink some of our international operations, but it has not dampened our commitment to reaching new audiences and spreading the message for the needs of advanced learners and how to support them. I want to take the next about 20 minutes or so to introduce you to our center and our two main areas of programming. And I will do that through these slides. I may go somewhat quickly because I really would like to have a conversation, and everything that I'll be saying, including the slides, can be shared with you afterwards. Please do not worry if I'm going quickly through anything. I'm happy to go back to any of the points during our Q&A. So I'm speaking to you both as one of the senior directors here at CTY, but also as a parent. I have two children who've taken courses at CTY, so I believe very fervently in what we're doing and the impact that it has on children who are ready for greater challenge and who are eager to meet other kids who share their passion for learning. The center really emerges from a research question that began at Johns Hopkins University. And so actually I forgot there's a picture of my daughter here. I'll let you try to see the resemblance and see if you can pick out which one she is. But the idea was that there should be a place where students can be identified for academic talent at an early age. So it began as a psychology researcher's question, and it has over the last 40 years developed into a set of programs that serve students from around the world, from grades 2, so approximately 8 years of age, up through high school, so just before university. And it has been a program that has had very high levels of satisfaction from parents, from students, from educators who recommend our program to their families, both for the academic acceleration and enrichment that we offer, but also for the social and emotional growth that is seen in students. Johns Hopkins University is one of America's first research universities. It's now one of the top ranked universities in the country with one of the largest research budgets. And we continue to be both a research center as well as a service center. So a place where students can come, but also where we are regularly asking the questions about how to identify students and what is the most effective way of engaging them. So what brings people to CTY? Maybe what brings you here today? Maybe you have a child who is interested in greater levels of academic challenge. Perhaps you've come because your child is feeling somewhat alone in their interests or is having trouble finding other friends who share their passion for the subject that they're interested in. Maybe as a parent, you are finding that you're getting too many questions and you're not able to keep up with the speed at which or the depth of the questions that your child is asking you. So there's a lot of different reasons that we find that parents come to us. And here are just a few, but these are ones that we hear regularly. And as I say, sometimes it is because they have a very specific interest in pursuing a subject matter. In other cases, they're just looking for a fun and enriching activity for their summer or for their out of school time. As I said, we began in 1979, and it's really based on the notion of what Paul described as advanced learners, which is a hotly debated name, but it's one that we're all comfortable with. A lot of people have also referred to the field that we're in as gifted education. But the idea fundamentally is that every student deserves to have an optimal level of challenge. And there are some students who are ready for more challenge than the typical school experience provides. But there are a few things that we've learned over the years. So students who are insatiably curious and who can't get enough learning, and as I mentioned, parents and teachers have trouble keeping up with the pace and the depth of their questions. Some don't get identified as academically advanced until they actually are given the chance to demonstrate that. So if you're performing well in school, but not challenged to go even farther, you may not realize that you have exceptional talent. And then some are learners who I said are looking to connect socially. Our goal is to help all students reach their full potential. These often are understood as having abilities beyond one's age or grade level. That these are learners who are active, who like to get involved in their learning and have great agency in choosing what they learn and how they do it. And that they learn best when they're provided with appropriate differentiation to meet their individual learning goals. So this means that they, in some cases, will get to choose what they're pursuing, which is not something that a lot of students get in a typical school setting. They tend to have to move through the curriculum at a preset pace and with preset materials. But by having programs like ours, it may be one of the first chances that a student actually gets to look through a catalog and say, I'd like to try this, or I'd like to try that. And that's an incredibly powerful moment for a student when they get to express themselves and challenge themselves. So we provide these opportunities. If you look through our catalog, you'll see that many of the courses will look familiar and allow for acceleration within a discipline, but others are really chances to try learning experiences outside what they would see in school, and also to connect ideas through this sort of interdisciplinary approach. We often use this phrase above grade level, which just means the challenges that would normally be seen, typically for us, about 2 or more years ahead in school. And again, this chance to be a part of a community. And that's both a community with your instructors and teaching assistants who are experienced in working with advanced learners, but also with other kids. So many of our families report to us that this is one of the first times that their kids were making lots of new friends and finding others like them and feeling a sense of belonging, which is so important to a young person's development. So the types of programs, we offer 2 general categories, the online programs, and then our in-person or on-campus programs offered during the summer. I'm going to spend a fair amount of our time on the online programs, and then I'll come to the summer programs briefly. So the online programs are offered, as I said, for grades 2 through 12. They are offered year-round, and there's a variety of learning formats, and I'm going to go through each of those. One thing that distinguishes our programs from others is that they are all led by expert instructors. So you may have encountered some online programs where you watch videos and you answer automated questions, or you have just peers sharing their feedback with one another. But in CTY's courses, everyone has an individual instructor who meets them at the beginning of the course. And they are that adult expert teacher who can help when a child is encountering some trouble, but also be a source of motivation and encouragement for the child throughout the course. Our courses are accredited for those for whom that's important to their schools. So the Middle States Association of Schools is our accreditor. And one can register throughout the year. I'll talk a little bit at the end about how one establishes eligibility, but that is another distinguishing factor for all of our programs. All students need to demonstrate that they are in fact advanced learners through performance on reasoning tests. So what are the formats of our online courses? We allow students to choose what are called asynchronous or independent schedules, where there are no live meetings required. So students can review the material, submit their material, get feedback, but it doesn't all happen in that same moment. So that's called asynchronously. There's two formats within that, the session and then the individually paced. The difference here is really whether one is moving through the material as a group. So that's the session-based. So imagine that you have everybody in the class doing the same reading and the same assignments that week. And so it provides more structure to the course. But we also offer the flexibility of the individually paced courses, which allow a student to move at whatever pace they like. So if they have a period where they really want to work intensively over a particular week or a different period, or if they need to take a break for athletics or for musical performances or for exams at school, the individually paced allows for that. On the other side are synchronous courses, or the courses that do involve live meetings with the instructors and teachers, and then the other students. So think of these as courses that meet over Zoom the way we are doing right now. There are more than 200 courses available. Again, there's a chance to get ahead if you're looking for acceleration, or a chance to just pursue something that's new to you. There's also some clubs that provide a chance for students to just interact informally. The live courses, as I said, they blend the independent and instructor-led real-time learning. These are all small classes. You won't find any with more than about 15 students. There's lots of tools available to the students for interaction. So we use the Office 365 suite for students. So it's also a chance for students to get practice with great collaborative tools, which I think will be important to all of us as we enter our professional lives in the future. You have some sense of how students pursue these courses. The technology is relatively straightforward. Standard laptop connection allows a student to join the courses. But again, especially for students who may not have the opportunity to pursue extracurriculars like these, the online really provides that flexibility. So just again, the emphasis is on the expert instructors, chance to pursue things in whatever format works for your child. And for those who need course credit, the accreditation is important. So very briefly on our on-campus programs, these happen during the summer. Again, they're for young students. For the grades 2 through 6, the programs are available in a commuter form, meaning you come in the morning and go home in the afternoon. But also starting in grade 5, we also offer a residential option. So students come and stay in dormitories, either at our home campus here or one of the several others around the United States. We've also had some in Hong Kong. But you come and stay and get the chance to experience life at a university, eating in the cafeteria, staying in the dormitories, and starting to make some independent decisions. Again, these happen in the summertime. The typical session is 3 weeks. We do have some 1-week sessions for the young kids who may be new to summer camps and just want to give it a try. These were our dates last year. We'll expect our dates in 2023 to be similar. We'll be announcing the catalog of courses for the on-campus summer by December of this year. Again, you'll see in the quotes a lot about the balance of the social experience as well as the academic experience. I think we've covered most of this material. I want to just move quickly to explaining the steps that one goes through to establish eligibility. As I mentioned, testing is the entryway into CTY. You start by creating an account in order to submit your test scores or to sign up for one of our tests. The tests that we'll go through the tests in just a moment, but there's a variety of ways to establish eligibility through tests. And then once you know your eligibility, there's two different ways, two different categories. There's quantitative reasoning or verbal reasoning. So students can demonstrate their preparedness for different courses based on this. So some courses require students to show high ability in quantitative reasoning and others in verbal reasoning. Some students will develop talents in just one of those domains. That's very common. And so those courses will be open to them. And it's relatively straightforward once you've established eligibility to to peruse the catalog and make your selections. So which tests might be right for your student? These are two that are offered by CTY. These are owned and maintained by us, the SCAT or the Spatial Test Battery. These can be taken at different levels. The SCAT is offered in person at Prometric centers, or it's also available online. So it can be taken from home or from your school at your convenience. The test takes just about 1 hour once you have all the software loaded and are ready to go. So it's really not too taxing, and it's really meant to be a snapshot of the student's abilities. There are other tests that we accept, and here are two of the ones that we've seen a lot in the past. These are called the SAT suite, and these are the tests related to a common university entrance exam here in the States. And this is one more, the ACT. There's a full list. There's almost 60 different tests that you can use scores from, and those are all available on our website to review. For the other tests, the ones that are done in grade level, so we talked earlier about how our courses are above grade level. So these tests that I mentioned before, the SCAT, the Spatial Test Battery, or the PSAT, SAT, ACT, these are all administered as above grade level, meaning that they're meant to be for students who are older, but we're asking our students to take them earlier than expected. And again, this is to give us a good look at just how advanced the student is. Typically, we would say we're looking for students who are ready to do work at least 2 to 4 grades above what we would normally see in a school. So again, I get to see my daughter smiling at me one more time here. Let me skip ahead just to tuition. We can go through this more. There's quite a range in the tuition for the programs. Obviously, the online programs are more affordable than the on-campus. The online tuitions really depend in the most part on the duration of the course. So we have some shorter courses, which may be done as quickly as 3 weeks. And then we have others that are really running almost the entire academic year. And those include a very large catalog of advanced placement or AP courses. All right, if you're thinking about joining us here in the States next summer for on-campus programs, just very quickly, there are some considerations, especially as an international student. It's now is a pretty good time to begin to think about testing, and you'll see why I'm saying that. But just to begin to get familiar, if students haven't taken a test online, this is a good chance to start to get familiar with the types of questions that will be asked, and to review some of the practice questions that are on our website. The catalog, as I mentioned, will be published in December, and the initial course assignments, or the first chance to sign up, typically happens towards the end of January. And it's a good idea if you've got your eye on a particular course to apply early, because it is a sort of rolling admissions process. And the other thing to think of as an international student is that you'll need to get a visa in some cases, and that process can take some extra time. So the earlier you've got your course assignment, the earlier you can start your visa process with us here at the university. We provide all the documents that are necessary to go to the US consulate and get the visa and get ready to come in the summer. So just a few other resources I wanted to mention. So the CTY community goes beyond just the programs, and these are all free resources available to anybody. Again, we are a part of a university, and we do share that mission of sharing our knowledge with the world. And so these are several ways in which we do that. There's the blog and podcasts each year. There's a very active Facebook where we are there, but it's most parents who are driving that conversation. And then, of course, there are our webinars. We will put a link to the upcoming events in the chat. And that brings me to my close. Again, I'll be happy to take questions at the end of our session. And please do feel free to reach out to me, to reach out to any of my colleagues at CTY. We're very used to new families having lots of questions, and we're delighted to answer those by email, through the Facebook, or through an individual session like this. And please just let us know how you'd like to communicate. And with that, I'll say thanks for your attention and turn it back to Paul.
Paul, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah. So I'm going to take the next 5 to 10 minutes to talk about the pilot program we've been thinking Education Beyond since the beginning of the year. And there's specific reasons for why we proposed the pilot program the format it is. As Sam just talked about, it's actually not easy to go through the whole process and also actually get a visa, for example, to go to the US and study in the summer. Also that my son, who's a CTY student, took the live courses, which was born out of the COVID. And they are, they're a great opportunity to learn, but you don't get to meet the friends that you get to have in the summer camp. And so what we proposed, which I'll talk about here, is that it's a hybrid format that we proposed at the beginning of the year. And because it's a pilot, what we're thinking was starting with a very small audience, which is going to be between grades 3 to 6. And the format will be based on the live program. The live program will be using Zoom. And we were thinking about having the program in one of the weekends, either Saturday or Sunday morning. And each class would have up to 14 to 15 students. This is actually the ideal format proposed by CTY. And we were thinking that the schedule would look like this. You would start from around 9 o'clock in the morning, and you actually get in and you actually have ice-breaking activities, and you have some time to review the homework before the actual the class starts. Between 9:45 to 10, there will be a break time, and this break time to me actually is very important because it gets the opportunity for you to for the student to talk to other in the class. It could be something as similar as just sharing snacks, and that's how friendships were born. And having this kind of downtime for students to talk to each other, for me, I thought it was always great. From 10 to 11 o'clock, it would be the regular CTY live courses, Zoom sessions that you would actually have with the teacher. And then post that, after an hour of intense class, of course, you have another break time, have some snacks, stretch your legs. And then finally, before you go home, between 11:15 to 12, we would have local TA providing support on homework. You'll have some classroom discussions, and you will have a wrap up. We found that it's always good to get the student to start doing some homework before they go home, so to make sure that they feel like they're already working on it. Otherwise, sometimes it's not easy for children to want to go home and continue. And then I think one of the biggest important caveat here is that all classes will be done in English. And we can talk about this in the Q&A session. We'd love to get your feedback on how we can overcome that. But our proposal is that we have a bilingual TA. So for the students who are already international schools and fluent in English, that's not an issue. But we're hoping to have a bilingual TA to support any students that may need some help in terms of making sure they understand everything happening in the class. So that's our format that we propose. I just want to give like a very quick example of what kind of courses we're thinking for the pilot. The first one is in the field of science. This is called Prosology. It's for elementary grades 3 to 4. And basically, grossology is anything gross, anything that coming out of your body that you don't want to talk about. And the reason why I thought this is really interesting is because I bet parents and teachers don't want to answer questions like this. And usually children are also very shy or embarrassed about asking questions like this. And so having a class like this becomes a great way for students to fulfill their curiosity, but also learn real science, biology through it. And as every live courses, I think the time commitment is about 4 to 5 hours a week. It's about 1 hour in class and 3 to 4 hours of independent work at home. And the second course that we were thinking was math of Pixar. And every children probably knows Pixar films and characters. If they don't, nowadays you can easily watch them over and over again on Apple TV or Disney. And therefore, this is a great way for an entryway to actually for kids to learn math. And the math that, for example, we're learning is about, why do they have this many balloons for this dog? There's actually a reason for that. All the animators have to think, the reason why you don't have 3, you have 300. And there are actually math that we can teach based on that. And so as I stated here, you can learn about coordinate geometry, combination and permutations from a class like this by looking at the favorite characters you have, and then you can dig into the math behind it. Again, the time commitment for this will be a 1 hour in class and 3 to 4 hours of homework at home. And finally, the last example I'll go through is a course called Catching the Criminal. This is in the field of science. But I love this course because my son attended this actually in person in LA. And the reason why I love this course is because I think that was the first time he learned what interdisciplinary study is. And so Catching the Criminal is actually about how to solve a case, mock cases. And the way that they went through the course, at least the way that my son went through, is you start with science, you learn about evidence like blood and prints and all the science related questions to actually find out who could potentially the culprit is for committing the crime. But there's another big part of the course talking about logic and reasoning, and some about law. What is it to actually to prove beyond a reasonable doubt when you convince someone is actually something very, very serious. And so learn a little bit more about not just science, but also about logic and reasoning. So the last day of the class involved the teacher being a victim, lying in the middle of the classroom, is dead, and then the students have to come in and solve exactly how and who the crime was committed. So that was a lot of fun. I know my son loved this. I always like to take this opportunity to talk about the course. Again, this is moved online after that, and it's the same 1 hour class time, 3 to 4 hours of independent work. So these are the example courses that we were thinking in terms of offering that in the pilot. And the reason why we wanted to talk about a pilot, and we heard this loud and clear from the 2 events that we held in June and July, which is that supporting programs for advanced learners actually have not been very widely available in Japan. And so we actually heard from many parents that they were looking for programs like this. They couldn't, and therefore they were really happy that CTY was, has a chance to be offered in Japan. Now, language is an issue for a lot of local Japanese students, but that's something that the reason why we actually proposed a bilingual TA. But the second reason is that we are very confident with CTY having more than 40 years of proven track record in providing programs around the world, that this is going to be a growth program for the students attending it. And myself have been involved with CTY since 2012, mostly in Hong Kong before I moved back to Japan. And my son was also a beneficiary of the program, so we were very confident. But lastly, what's important is that we proposed the pilot to be a hybrid program because one of the reasons the program is so valuable for the students is actually a place for them to get to know other advanced learners, for them to actually get to know someone who is interested in the same thing that they're interested in. And this is, for many of them, like I will give my son as an example, that this is the first time that they actually get to talk to someone while doing sports about math, for example. My son was shocked that he could actually talk to another kid playing soccer, and at the same time, you're not talking about who the best player is, you're talking about the math. And so to be able to actually make friends with people like that is very, very valuable for these advanced learners, for students. And lastly, unfortunately, because of some administrative and logistical reasons, we were hoping originally to start the program in 2023 January. That is delayed for the moment, and we'll come back with updated information as soon as we can. However, what we wanted to say is that even though the pilot program having a place, the student can get together, it's been delayed, for interested students in Japan, you can still go ahead and register and talk and join the online program that Sam discussed before. And in fact, since earlier this summer, we created an EB promo code. So if your students interested in joining CTY, obviously this will be online, you could still go to our homepage and get an EB promo code, and this will waive the registration fee that required with CTY. And just quickly to go through how to get a promo code, because this is still available today, and you can still and go to our homepage. Basically, what you do is you go to our homepage. If you scroll down, there will be a tab here where you can actually click EB's pilot program for advanced learners. What you'll see another page introducing the program. It's been on hold right now. However, if you scroll down, there is still the tab for you to actually, at the bottom for you to actually get the EB promo code. And the reason why I still wanted to stress about this promo code today is because even without the pilot program advancing, if you're in Japan, once you go through the registration process and the testing, there are actually many programs happening on Sunday mornings that in Japan that you can take. For example, starting from January 2023, there are all these courses, including the one I just talked about, Prosology, Math, and Pixar, where you can attend from Japan, obviously from your home and your room, but it does not stop you from going through the CTY courses. And just another example here, in April 2023, another set of courses will also start. Catching the Criminal, for example, here will start in April, and therefore, if you register past the courses, even though we do not have the pilot program, please feel free to also still join online from Japan.